gracious, the merciful, respected participants, students, followers. Today we shall discuss about Catherine Belsey and his book and her book Critical Practice. A writer belongs to modern era, and this writer basically telling us about the different criticism like old criticism, new criticism, practical criticism. After studying Catherine Belsey, we'll be able to understand what is criticism, what is new criticism, and what is practical criticism. So this writer will help us to understand such kind of idea related to criticism. Catherine Belsey, she was born in 1940. She was born in England. She was the British literary critics and academics. She chaired the Center for the Criticals and Culture Theories at Cardiff University in 1988 and 2003. From 1988 and 2003, she worked as the culture theory at the critical and the culture theory at the Cardiff University, 1988 to 2003. Before moving to the Swansea University, 2006 and 14. Her book Critical Practice 1980 was an influential post-structuralist text in suggesting the new directions for the literary studies. And here is the point: what is post-structuralist? You know that there are main two movements. The first movement was literary movement was structuralism, and the second was the post-structuralism. And this writer basically she is fully influenced from the post-structuralist movement. And what is the structuralism? Please write it down if you wish. According to the structuralist movement and writers, they say that whenever you want to learn something, you see the object and you just focus on object in a way to understand idea. For example, if you are going to study piece of text, you just see the piece of text, and after seeing this text, you will be able to understand. You don't need to go into the details, the other elements. Like a structuralist says that if you want to study, you take the thing in a pairs, like male, female, emotional, rational, emotionalism and rationalism, male, female, good, evil. So according to the structuralist, you see the things in a pair. But if you want to understand something, whether it is a piece of literature or any body, any object, any literary thing, you need to see the things in the pair, like male, female, good, bad, evil, good, and then there is a rationalism, emotionalism, rational and emotional. Okay, so just like this, if you want to study thing, you have to see in structure. Within the structure, you have to take the objects, and after just looking into this object, you will be able to understand what you want to get, the meaning you can get. But the post-structuralists, they were the reactionary against the structuralist movement. The post-structuralists say, no, if you want to study, if you want to learn something, if you want to understand object, you have to see the detail related to this. For example, the historical perspective related to this object, the idea related to this object. You want to study a text, so you will not understand this text easily until unless you study the historical perspective, the idea related to this, the history related to this. Okay, so this was the you could say idea of the post-structuralist. And this writer, Catherine Belsey, she was influenced by this movement, post-structuralist writers and movement, and she favored in her writing, suggesting new direction for literary study through the post-structuralist. She is currently visiting professor of the English, the University of 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗏. So at the moment, she is the professor in University of Derby and English associations and fellow Learned Society of the Wales. And yesterday I told you what is Welsh. This is the ethnic group, the Celtic group, which is who's living in England. So in England there are some Gaelic and Celtics. I told you these are the ethnic group, they are living in England. So she also, you could say association, she is also related to this association known as the Learned Society of Wales. She's consistently aligned herself with the international innovations in the theories and practice of criticism. She, as I told you, she wrote book Critical Practice. So in this book, she has given analysis. She's taking certain writers like the linguist. She's taking idea from psychology, anthropology, epistemology, psychology, philosophy, and taking many writers and writing their views. Like she's talking about the Jacques Derrida, she's talking about the 𝗔𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗡, she's talking about the other writers, like these writers, they are the theorists, they are the analyst, they are the philosopher, the psychologist, and they are the linguist. So she's taking their view, she's writing. But the defects and the flaw in her book is, she's not giving her personal view. She's just talking about the great linguists, psychologists, and philosophers, linguists. She's taking their views and she's putting in her book. So the name of the book is Critical Practice, that we are going to study now. Critical Practice. Please write the age and as well as the work of the writer, her main work. Critical Practice 1980. Please write it down if you wish. Critical Practice 1980. The subject of tragedy, identity and difference in the Renaissance drama 1985. So you write the subject of tragedy, she wrote in 1985. Before that she wrote Critical Practice, and after she wrote 1985, she wrote the subject of tragedy, the further identity and difference in Renaissance drama. You just write a name, the subject of tragedy. She wrote in 1985. The subject of tragedy 1985. Then she wrote in 1988. She wrote John Milton, Language, Gender, Power. It means that she's pointing out about the language, gender, and powers. John Milton, you know that he was writers. And she's pointing out the language and genders and powers, how Milton is writing, what kind of idea he is writing in his book. So she's pointing out language, gender, and powers. You know, these are the characteristic of the writers. Writer writes about the language, gender, and powers. In 1988, she wrote. She wrote on John Milton. In 1994, she wrote Desire, Love Story in Western Culture. She wrote book Desire, Love Stories in the Western Culture, 1994 she wrote. Shakespeare, Love Stories in the Western Culture, 1994. In 1994 she wrote Love Stories in the Western Culture. Shakespeare and the Laws of Eden, 1999. In 1999, she wrote Shakespeare and the Laws of Eden. As I told you, a writer, Catherine Belsey, she is the supporter of the post-structuralism. According to the post-structuralism, if you want to study anything, any object, so you are not going to isolate this object in a way to get true idea. Rather, you have to get this object and you have to study detailed perspective according to psychological, historical, and sociological. So this background information related to the object will enable you to get thorough knowledge about the object. If you want to study any piece of literature, if you want to know any object, you have to learn about the historical, sociological, political, and background information of the object in a way to get the true sense out of this object. I hope you've got idea about related to structuralism and post-structuralism. Structuralists see things in the form of structure. They see things in the form of structure, take object, and object will give you meaning. And she also defines. For example, in one of her assignment, I have just prepared assignment. And in this assignment, I have included one picture. So there is a person. So I'm going to explain to you what is the structuralism and post-structuralism. Okay. There is a person, there is a lady who is nude, and the nude lady is over here, and the person is over here. He's having a special kind of knife in his hand, and he's just going to hit the lady. So he's going to hit the lady with the knife while the lady is on the bed, and the same lady, the person is over here who's going to hit with the knife. No, the picture is depicting a lot of story. So according to post-structuralist, if you want to learn about what this person and the lady is going over there, the one idea that she is going to be raped. The person is over there because the lady is nude and on the bed. According to structuralist, this very picture is giving idea that she is being raped. But if we are going to study the same thing, same picture with respect to post-structuralist, they will see whether they are in such a relation, how they are getting over there on the bed, how the lady is just getting rescue from this person, and why this person is having a knife and going to kill this lady while she's doing some prostitution kind of activity. So this way you will get the true sense of the object. I hope you've understood. There's a picture, and the person is going to kill a nude lady. So it's giving many information. The picture is giving that the lady is, there is a likelihood the lady is a prostitute and he's going to do something bad. There is information that he's going to rape the lady. There is information that the person is just like a killer and want to kill. So if you want to get the true sense, you have to apply the post-structuralist idea. And post-structuralists say, you should study the background, the socials, and other information related to the object, pictures, a piece of text, or genres, or anything that will enable you to give the true sense of the idea, text, body, or any object. I hope you've got clear idea about the structuralism and post-structuralism. And if you see with respect to the value of the movement, like the post-structuralism and the structuralist, I think the post-structuralist writer and supporters are having very practical approach, because the structuralist just see the object and deduce meaning, but the post-structuralist, they will go into the details and find the meaning. So post-structuralists, they are having good stance as compared to the structuralists. Post-structuralism, a very short introduction, 2002. She wrote in post-structuralism, she gave the introductions, short introductions in 2002. She wrote in 2002, post-structuralism. You can study if you wish. I have given you clear idea about this. You can easily understand what is the meaning of structuralism, what is structuralism, and this idea will help you to understand all about this movement. Culture and the Real, 2005. She wrote, in 2005, she wrote Culture and the Real. Why Shakespeare, she wrote 2007. It's another book, Why Shakespeare, 2007. Shakespeare in Theories and Practice, 2008.
Shakespeare in?
Why Shakespeare, 2007. Shakespeare in Theories and Practice, 2008. A Future for Criticism, 2011. A Future for Criticism, 2011. Romeo and Juliet, Language and Writing, 2014. 2014.
14. Okay.
Criticism 2016. So a writer, 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗽𝗏𝗀𝗃, is still alive, and she is living now. We can still study her books. You can even visit on YouTube if you wish. You just write the name of 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗽𝗏𝗀. I have also listened to her interview on YouTube. She is very intelligent. She's very confident, and I have heard her interview. She's still alive. So now we have discussed about the writer's life. Writer belonged to England. She was born in England, and still she's living. She was born in 1940 in England. She's a British literary critics, academics, and she still delivering lecture in University of 𝗙𝗵𝗏, 𝗷𝗵𝗵𝗏. So she's still delivering lectures, and she's also member of the Learned Society of Wales. So I have told you about the Welsh culture as well, and the Welsh ethnic group as well. Again, I want to tell you critical practice 1980, the subject of tragedy 1985, John Milton 1988, Desire, love story in Western culture 1994, Shakespeare's and the loss of Eden 1999, post-structuralism, in which I have told you the structuralist and the post-structuralist, they have different approach. I have also prepared assignment for you. You can easily understand after this lecture. A very short introduction 2002, Cultures and Real 2005, Why Shakespeare 2007. So these are her works. You can study if you wish. So today we shall discuss what is 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗽𝗏𝗀𝗃 and what is her work, to what extent she is successful in pointing out the criticism, new criticism. Prior to this, I would like to give idea about the history, you could say traditional and conventional criticisms and the new criticism. You know that Americans, mostly American, they belong to new criticism. I want to tell you certain idea related to practical criticism. Kindly write the name of the person. 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He is the founder of practical new criticism. He is the founder of practical criticism. In practical criticism, you know, what is the purpose of practical criticism? Write the name of the person, 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, belonged to England, and he was born on 26 Feb 1893. 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, he gave the concept of practical criticism. And in practical criticism, what he wanna points out, he wants to point out the people, they want to learn the historical background, the sociological background, and philosophy, psychology, and history of the writers in a way to understand. He said that he says it's totally wrong in a way to evaluate a piece of literature, a piece of genre. You can evaluate other way. So he took a piece of poem, and he delivered same poem amongst many students. Just like he delivered one piece of literature, a kind of poem, and he delivered to class, and the whole class, the student, they interpreted this piece of literature, a poem, in different way. I mean to say, every student is interpreting the piece of genre and literature, a poem, different way. And then he concluded idea that idea, especially poem or kind of poetry, it is interpreted different way because every readers, they have certain ideas and knowledge, and they interpret things according to their own knowledge. Please write the name of the person, 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, born 26 Feb 1893. He was born in England 26 1983. 26 Feb 1893, died 7 September 1979. 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He was poet, critic, teacher. And main writing is the meaning of meaning. He's writing a book, the meaning of meaning, principle of literary criticism and practical criticism. He wrote, I mean to say these are his main work.
What was the section?
The meaning of meaning, principle of literary criticism and practical criticism. He influenced the American as well as the European with his valuable work. He considered one of the pioneers of the new criticism. And all the other critics, they follows his rules and regulation. Whatever he delivered, others started following him. I mean to say the writers from Europe as well as from Americans, they started following this person, critics, poet and teacher, I.A. Richard, belonged to England. And he gave the idea practical criticism. According to him, criticism is not mere application or set of rules and intuitions. He widely read not only literature but also philosophy, psychology, aesthetics, fine arts, and the broad principle of various sciences. So the meaning of meaning 1923, please write his work. The meaning of meaning 1923. The principle of literary criticism 1924. The practical criticism 1929. Science and poetry, Coleridge or imaginations, and like these books he has studied and he has written as well. So philosophy or rhetoric. What's the meaning of rhetoric? Do you know what's the meaning of rhetoric? Rhetoric mean? Yes, please tell me what.
Rhetoric means these questions which are asked by the writer and also told to give them the answers by the writer.
Definitely, it's but it is rhetoric mean also that when you making speech, a person who knows how to make good speech, related to speech, delivering speech like this. It's also coming under this umbrella, whatever you're saying. So I.A. Richard was devoted supporter of the close textual and verbal study and analysis of the work. It means that when you give a piece of poem to somebody, every person will interpret this poem according to his knowledge. When you do close study, you will interpret this piece of literature with your own knowledge. You don't need to go into the detail of the writer's sociological and psychological and other background of the knowledge. No, you don't need to study the biography of the writer, social structure of the writer, psychology of the writer, background of the writer. Rather, you get meaning from the poem. So the same way he handed over a piece of literature to various students, and the student, they are interpreting with their own knowledge and they are not going into the detail of the writers. And this way he concludes that whenever you give a poem to some student or other experts, they will interpret according to their own knowledge and they will study according to their own, you could say, socials and background and other knowledge of his own knowledge. It means that the reader interpret a kind of literature with his own perceptions. Whatever perception he has made, he will interpret accordingly. So this way he gives a new look to literary criticism and practical criticism. So here is a technique. So you can study. I will send you you could say, prepared assignment, and you will be able to study this. So over he says the poet writes